In the 1900s, Fred Hampton was tired of police brutality in Chicago and black people being treated poorly, which led to him joining the Black Panthers. Since the Black Panther Party communicated that blacks were being mistreated, this led to many advancements within the black community, and the black community continues to communicate peace and unity among themselves and others. The Black Panther organization was formed in October of 1966 by Bobby Seale and Huey Newton in Oakland, California. Their original name was the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. Their name is pretty self-explanatory, but I'll explain more. Their purpose was to prevent black people from being abused by police and to prevent and reduce police brutality. They did this by patrolling black neighborhoods and protecting black people from the police brutality. You could recognize them by their black leather jackets, afros, and other black attire. This was the uniform that the Black Panthers wore. They also looked younger, considering that the average age for each member was 20 years old. The Black Panthers supported the black community in many other ways. They established more than 60 community assistance programs, including medical services, free clothes, and legal aid instruction. Frederick Allen Hampton was born August 30th, 1948 in Summit, Illinois, and he also grew up in Maywood, Illinois. His mother was Iberia Hampton, and his father was Francis Allen Hampton. He graduated from Proviso East High School in 1966 and later went to Triton Junior College Prep, where he studied law. In college, he became interested in the civil rights movement and wanted to help, so he joined his local NAACP branch, where he was appointed the leader of the Youth Council for the West Suburban branch. Himself and others helped set up free breakfast programs for children and other care programs. This happened in November of 1968 when Fred Hampton became chairman of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party, which is another way of how he brought people together and was a leader. Another great example of how Hampton brought people together was with the Rainbow Coalition. This was one of the most important events in Chicago's history. In 1969, Fred Hampton made two of the most powerful gangs in Chicago come to a truce. The two gangs involved were the Young Lords and the Young Patriots. The two leaders were William Preacherman Fursperman, who was in charge of the Young Patriots, and Jose Cha-Cha Jimenez, who was in charge of the Young Lords. They formed a non-aggression pact, which was called the Rainbow Coalition. Fred Hampton was arrested twice in February in 1969 with Jose Jimenez at the Wicker Park Welfare Office, where they were both charged with mob action during peaceful protests. Fred Hampton didn't only cause two gangs to unify, but he wanted everyone that was alive to be unified. The Rainbow Coalition was also joined by the Lincoln Park Poor People's Coalition, Students for a Democratic Society, the Brown Berets, American Indian Movement, and the Red Guard Party. The Rainbow Coalition was made to engage in joint action against poverty, corruption, police brutality, and substandard housing. All of the groups involved supported each other at protests and strikes, which shows just how good Fred Hampton was at uniting people and stopping violence. Later, other groups also joined the Rainbow Coalition. Fred Hampton also helped to enforce the 10-point program. It was created by Bobby Seale and Huey Newton. The 10-point program is a list of rules, regulations, and morals that the Panthers wanted everyone to follow. They were, we want freedom, we want power to determine the destiny of our black community, we want full employment for our people, we want an end to the robbery by the capitalists of our black community, we want decent housing fit for the shelter of human beings, we want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in the present day society. We want all black men to be exempt from military service. We want an immediate end to police brutality and the murder of black people. We want freedom for all black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. We want all black people, when brought to trial, to be tried in court by a jury of their peer group or people from their black communities as defined by the Constitution of the United States. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. As Fred Hampton was making more and more advancements in the black community, racist people were getting more and more mad at his and the black community's advancements. J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI at that time, said that Hampton and the Black Panthers were the greatest threat to the internal security of the country, even though they were only helping black people who had been mistreated by racist people like the head of the FBI and all other ignorant people since the beginning of slavery in the United States. The murder of Fred Hampton was premeditated. J. Edgar Hoover was a racist leader of the FBI at the time and saw Hampton as a quote-unquote threat. He only saw Hampton as a threat because he was a black man trying to achieve peace and unity among all people. Hoover also saw Martin Luther King Jr. as a threat, which is more evidence of how he was racist. He wanted the Chicago Police Department to assault and kill all the Black Panthers. The Black Panther headquarters on West Monroe Street was raided 3 times and over 100 members were arrested without a logical reason. The FBI was so set on arresting and causing harm to the Panthers that they even put a spy in their headquarters. His name was William O'Neill. He gave the FBI the location of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. In the early morning of December 4th, 1969, the Chicago police brutally attacked and killed Mark Clark and Fred Hampton. It was an absolute bloodbath. Fred Hampton was killed in his sleep. The police claimed that it was a shootout, but after further examination, it was proved that it wasn't. The police shot 99 bullets while the Panthers only shot 2, which came out of a shotgun after the guard inside of their room had been shot and was dead while he was falling to the ground. The murder of Fred Hampton was part of the FBI's COINTELPRO program. It was basically a program that was targeted at the entire black movement, but more specifically, the Panthers. They had a whole layout of the apartment, and they knew exactly where Fred Hampton would be sleeping. Fred Hampton's fiancée reported that one police officer said, "Is he dead yet?" And she heard 2 shots, and then she heard, "He's dead. He's good and dead now." The short-term impacts after Fred Hampton's death were that the Rainbow Coalition stayed together even after Fred Hampton was assassinated. The Rainbow Coalition brought even more people together. It wouldn't have been possible without Fred Hampton. Another short-term impact was that the FBI's COINTELPRO program was abolished in the coming years after Fred Hampton was killed. Fred Hampton's death caused the Black Panthers to be stronger, since 2 of their most vital members had been murdered. Fred Hampton's death caused more leaders to become accountable after his death because of the investigations that went on. After his death, the Panthers had tours in the house of where he was killed. People could see all of the bullet holes in the bloody bed where Fred Hampton was killed at, and this gave them the real truth of what the police did. In 1982, the Justice Department settled the $47 million civil suit that was filed by the families of Mark Clark and Fred Hampton. The people were very mad at the police after they assassinated Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, and it made people fearful, but it also made other people more determined to get the long-term impacts were that Fred Hampton's son is now a leader in his neighborhood, and he is a part of the Black Panthers. Another impact is that there is more attention to police brutality than there was back then. Back then, police brutality was acceptable, but now at least there are more people aware of what goes on, and it's not as excusable. Fred Hampton impacted events today because he caused police officers to be more accountable, which is part of the reason why police have to wear dash cams now. He also helped to make the 10-point program, which is still around today. He is also an inspiration to many people, which is why they created murals of him to remember his legacy. Fred Hampton's death brought together white liberals and black people, which helped get Harold Washington elected the mayor of Chicago, which helped to change our politics in a positive way. He's also the reason why more people are brave today and not as scared to protest and change things that they think are wrong.